What's up, crypto universe? You're with me here, Eugene on Rock the Block Live with my guest today from Abele Group. We have Phil Woods.
Good morning. Thank you, Eugene.
Morning. Well, Phil, you run or at least the project that you're trying to create is on digital banking for the crypto community.
Sure.
Right. And I think we can all safely agree that in the last 2 years, it's been quite a ride in the crypto community as well. So let's start off with that first. Let's start off, because you started your business in 2017, in September last year.
Yeah.
That was like the best time to be in crypto.
Well, it was. It was definitely what I'd like to say, the foot on the accelerator moment in asset prices and crypto. But in hindsight, I think it was actually probably the moment in the market where we went a little bit ahead of ourselves, just in terms of euphoria and in some cases greed. So we started the company officially. We put together a team of people last September. We didn't officially start the company until late November, and we didn't want to rush to market until we had a viable product. And so we did a lot of work this year that will culminate here at the end of this year when we have a go live moment for a few of our first clients that we've signed up. Yep. But I'm investing in this business with the long view that digital assets will include crypto, but then ultimately extend well beyond cryptocurrencies.
Your background, Phil, you're in the banks, right? UBS, Citibank. But this has been the kind of stuff where people from that industry were trying to avoid. I mean, back in 2017, we even had JP Morgan saying, hey, you know what, this is fraud. And a lot of my friends who are in the banking industry, they said, no, we're not going to touch that. It's fake. What made you decide to go into that?
I think if you're involved in the blockchain space, you're already predisposed to avoiding noise. And I find anyone who speaks and all they have is an opinion, and that if that opinion isn't backed by facts, then it's just noise. Yeah. So just bat that down. I did my own research. I started to understand that blockchain was more than just cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are fun, they're cool. They provide a specific use case for individuals around the world who might want privacy on certain transactions. And they're not always for illicit reasons. Yeah. Or think about it, if you live in a country where you don't have stable rule of law, if you can't trust the people who are supposed to protect your assets to actually do so. And countries where you have high cases of corruption, a cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Neo, NEM, they might actually be a more stable currency to place your assets than your own local government's currency. Yeah. So there are specific use cases for cryptocurrencies. But blockchain technology itself, once I understood its capabilities, and it doesn't matter what my colleagues in finance at the time were there saying, it's, okay, what am I prepared to do? So anybody who involved themselves in this space 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, or last year, I really view them as an influencer, as a leader in their community, because they're willing to make their own decision, informed decision, without waiting for mass media to tell them what to do.
In fact, I think looking at the situation right now in the market, even yourself and anyone who's coming out this year is going to be a tough time, but you guys are the frontiers, the challengers of the leaders of the revolution, because you're going to put yourself in places and get shot down, get burned. And I think that's the beauty. That's why I love this community so much, because you get all these brilliant ideas coming out, the good and the bad, right? So speaking a bit of philosophy, just tap on that. We look at, because you mentioned many different countries trust crypto more than the government now, because let's take a look at Iran, Venezuela, Turkey, who are all embracing cryptocurrencies as opposed to the fiat, right?
Sure.
So when we look at the philosophy behind banking back when it first started, and then we look at banking now, and then why are people so jaded about the banks and want to unpack from the fiat? There's this movement. I mean, Satoshi's 10-year anniversary is happening right now. The white paper came out exactly 10 years ago. And back then, the belief was, let's move away from the bank. Let's move away from central authority, from the fiat dollars. But now we are obviously not seeing that kind of push anymore, because that was just an idealistic phase. But we're now seeing, let's try to marry the two together, right? And I think that's where you come in, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, wow. Let me unpack a bit of what you said. First of all, you used a word that I never use because it scares the bejeebies out of even me. I mean, and that's the revolutionary word. Oh, no. Blockchain technology is going to help modernize finance. In fact, if you go to our website, we quite specifically use the word modernization as opposed to
that's a headline.
Revolutionize. Revolutionize scares people. Revolutionary means we don't know what's coming next, but let's still just blow up the system. No. That's not what we're doing here.
Okay.
What we're doing here is we're helping the system and those who operate outside of it become a part of it, and we're helping that system operate more efficiently. The biggest lesson for me over the past 20 years is that the number one thing is we cannot have our financial economy be the number one driver of the overall global economy. Because when you do that, in cases where the business cycle changes, then that leads to negative ramifications for society as a whole. 2007, 2008 was a very scary period for people around the world. I think using blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and big data can help prevent a scenario like that. A few years ago, people ridiculed Janet Yellen for saying that in her lifetime, or she didn't believe that we would ever have another financial crisis. And at the time, I too thought, okay, what's happened to her? But now I'm starting to understand that financial crisis only happens when people lack information, when they don't trust what they're being told, and therefore they sell assets, move to cash, and hide exactly how much cash they have. And if they do have an illiquid or a bad asset, they try to hold on desperately and not tell anyone about it. Well, with blockchain technology used in specific cases in our financial system globally, people will have the information. How they react to having that information, well, that's just the movement of a market. That's beauty. Satoshi and blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. You are correct. In certain governments, it is more stable to have, or certain environments, to have a Bitcoin as opposed to your local currency or your local bonds. But where we're going is this marriage of assets such that the digital space and the fiat space operate seamlessly, that there's cross movement between the two, but more importantly, I believe we're at the dawn of the tokenization of our global economy. And so things like stocks and mutual funds, business partnerships, healthcare records, the right to advertise to you, will all in some form receive tokenization. And if that's the case, then we need to understand that change.
For Abele Group, you guys, I would say, very safely would be one of the first digital banks to be SEC approved.
Well, let me stop you there, because any lawyer who is listening to this or seeing this will say, well, wait a second. The SEC and FINRA and other regulatory bodies in the US have not yet officially approved a project, let alone a federally licensed bank. And so in some jurisdictions, you must be very, very careful how you use the word bank. So what we say right now is we are a digital custodian, and we're going through the process. We've entered the process in a few legal jurisdictions around the world, such that we become either a qualified custodial bank or broker-dealer, or just a depository bank. Here in Singapore, where we sit, using the word bank without a license is a big deal here in the local market. In some jurisdictions, that's not a highly regulated activity. But when people ask us, okay, what's a digital custodian? What's a digital repository with aggregated trading and insurance and all these things? I can describe it to you in so many different ways, but it isn't until I say, hey, bank in quotation marks. That, that's the exact reaction. Thank you, perfect.
And I think very much so the community or the industry really needs this kind of services. It's been very rocky the whole last year, where most of the activity are just based on speculation, gambling. I see that all the exchanges, it's pretty much like a gambling site. You buy low, you sell high, you put your margins here, and then you start talking about moons and Lambos. But when we start looking at moving to the future, using this as currencies, or at least a form of a legitimized payment, then we start to look at various services that is required. Traditionally the banking services, right? And then we look at the market and go like, hey, there is no one doing it right now, right? So when you guys come in, this is going to be, I would say, my personal opinion right now, I would be very excited to be a customer of this project. How do you, but more importantly, how do you see yourself changing the or value adding to the landscape right now? How would things be different next year for you guys?
Sure. So you're absolutely correct. I mean, blockchain technology, decentralization was the extreme. And then you have, in some instances, highly regulated, highly centralized organizations. And what we find is that neither model really works well in all scenarios. And so you need what we call some centralized security and storage features, but with decentralization built into the platform, meaning that I, as the business owner operator, don't decide everything that happens on the platform. People want to have a voice in what you're building, how you're building it, and the services that you offer. And they also want it as cheaply as possible, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah.
The whole blockchain ethos is build a great ecosystem, offer it for free, and over time the value of it increases, and therefore we all benefit in it. That's the underlying ethos for the blockchain purists, and even for a lot of cryptocurrency purists. So what we're doing is when we stop releasing so much information. 18 months ago, or even a year ago, when we really started talking about custodial solutions, there was no one in the market talking about it. And so on our website, what we do is we use various tools to track who reads our site and where the information moves. And so what we started to find is a lot of the people who are in this space right now have been reading our documents. So I'm not giving them any more information, but what I will say, how we plan on revolutionizing things or modernizing things. Yes, yeah, I committed my own faux pas there. Modernizing things are, we decide very early on that the user will determine how they interact with us. If they want an insurance product, they can toggle a switch and have insurance. If they want just a custodial service where they come deposit some assets onto a wallet with some multi-signature features, they have that. If they want to use our Abele token to secure their account to the maximum security level that we have, they can do so. If they want to use our technology without buying our Abele token, there's that option as well. We start with cryptocurrency technology. Eventually we will be a depository type institution for everything from your medical records to social services records, Defense Department records, music royalty payments. We will offer we're working on a few partnerships with a few very established blockchain projects to offer a payment service. And what we decided was, when you log on to your Abele Trust account and you use our token, let's say you have the highest level of security and you walk through our multi-factor authentication process, you will then have a suite of products and services that we roll out periodically over the next few years, where everything digital, we provide you an on-ramp and an off-ramp to that, what we call highway.
So effectively, I could have my profile on the blockchain, right? And I would be able to purchase some Abele tokens. Be a customer of your ecosystem. And because I'm able to interact with the various services that you provide, let's say insurance, medical, I can then just have a single gateway that takes care of pretty much my how would I say, like my crypto portfolio in that case, is it?
Yeah, your digital portfolio.
Yeah.
In certain countries right now, there are very serious projects and public-private partnerships to tokenize deeds and property and land rights usage. There are other environmental sustainable projects coming to market next year. Then we have projects in the US to tokenize music royalty and royalty payments, because artists right now, there's so many middlemen in that process that they receive literally a penny, in some cases on the dollar, because of the number of middlemen it takes in these contracts from radio play or Spotify play to the artist. Then we have situations where in some governments, they've literally lost track of children that were in government care simply because the social worker had so many files on their desk that one fell off, they didn't notice, and the trash person just swept it away thinking it was old. Lose the file, you lose the child. And so what we said was, the basic ethos of Abele Trust and Abele as an organization is that as a human being, you shouldn't make a mistake and lose your digital assets, whether it's a cryptocurrency or your medical records. We need to have a way to recover. So at the end of the day, we think blockchain has specific use cases, but it isn't the overall ecosystem. And in fact, I actually don't like the word ecosystem anymore. So people ask me what am I building? I'm building an extension of you, the individual. I don't care if you call us your personal assistant, your banker, your helper, well, we won't cook for you, but if it's a digital asset and it needs safekeeping or transacting, we're involved.
Yeah, that's kind of how I saw the value there as well, because I'm going to use the word bank very loosely here.
Bank loosely.
When we think of bank, we think of that central building that everyone connects to. But what I see the solution that you're providing is more like, hey, it's a personal assistant where I can keep my stuff there. It's nice little safety box that is governed and managed by somebody using codes and tech and AI. And I can get to dip my hand in there very safely and interact with the rest of the network. Now, looking at what you're building, you have the AI element to it. And I saw the list of people on your stuff. There's one guy that really pops out for me. He didn't have a picture there. He's a philosopher. No, that really got my interest. Tell me more about him.
Yeah, so as we started to interact with the public more, we wanted to have one member of the team that was always anonymous for security reasons. Well, we then decided to that team member gave an interview to a very prominent news organization, and they used his real name. So now we use his real name, but his picture, you have to really search for it to find it. When we started this, there were literally people who were worried, if I conduct an ICO or if I'm involved with blockchain technology, will I need a bodyguard? I have so much money sitting on a wallet that's public and...
Only for your McAfee, I guess.
Exactly. So that was the original premise behind keeping him a bit anonymous, but it's just blown out of the water now. Okay. We just haven't found a picture of him that we really like to post on the website now.
So this is behind the scenes, folks, guys. You're getting all the first-hand news. Now, you've been in Singapore for almost a decade, right? 2008, I saw?
In and out of Singapore. So I lived here throughout the financial crisis, returned to New York for a few years, and then returned here to Singapore early last year.
Speaking of financial crisis, now moving just slightly a bit away from blockchain, but still kind of related, there's a lot of talks these days about financial crisis happening again. And then there's also, back in 2008, when financial crisis happened, the banks went down, the mortgage crisis. But the difference now in 2018 and 19, there is the crypto element. And some people believe that, if the impending disruption or the collapse of the financial ecosystem, money will be pushed towards the blockchain side. More people believe in cryptocurrency. What's your take on that?
Well, actually, I'm a big believer that if you don't learn from history, it repeats itself. Yeah. And so there are some specific lessons from the financial crisis that we have not, as a society as a whole, yet worked to fix. And I'm not going to list all those out because the Abele Group, we're working on a few of them. But what I will say is that we need more relevant forms of payment within the blockchain space because of a very simple thing. I'm an enthusiast, but there are only so many cups of coffee that I will buy with Bitcoin, knowing the transaction fee, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be real here. I was in Tokyo and I wanted to buy a $13 artisanal made espresso, but the $40 transaction fee to make that happen, I mean, $53 for a cup of coffee? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, the people who most need digital solutions, Indonesia, for example, they as a whole per capita are within the top 10 of BTC holders globally. I was quite surprised by this. I believe they're number 8 or number 9. But the US dollar equivalent of GDP per capita in Indonesia is around $3,000 or less. How many cups of Java coffee are people in Indonesia going to buy if it's $53 US? So we have to be very thoughtful about who our target market is. And so the digital age was supposed to help those who are unbanked, those who are most vulnerable in society, participate to a greater degree in society. I no longer need to have a brick and mortar financial institution in every country, in every village, in every town to bank people. There's the mobile phone. There are mobile services that we can provide using, in the background, blockchain technology. So I tell people at the end of the day, if you know nothing about blockchain, you can still interact with the Abele Trust because we use blockchain technology to provide you a more efficient service. Financial crisis, if I could predict the future, I would short all the large financial institutions. We will have recessions, we will have periods of slowdown. I think part of the reason why over the weekend it was announced that the US and China at this upcoming G20 conference will have a serious discussion about resolving the trade dispute is because both sides now realize there's the potential to have a significant slowdown and growth globally if this continues much longer. Up until 3 weeks ago, every market was down with the exception of the US. And then the US had a very significant spill from an equity market standpoint. If you look at interest rates, they're on the rise globally. And typically, a rising interest rate environments with slowing GDP growth and a soft stock market performance was indicative of a recession looming. I mean, we're on the 9th year of a bull market. Yes, it's possible. It should have already happened. The business cycle dictates that it will happen at some point. But crisis is different. Crisis is people aren't hopeful about tomorrow. And I believe that regardless of your political leanings or your faith, we can use technology in a way that gives people confidence that the decisions that they're making are based upon sound data. Therefore, we're less likely to reach that crisis point.
There's a lot of wisdom in what you said. In fact, I think this is one of the more insightful interviews I had in recent time because I see that you straddle both the traditional market with that kind of experience behind you and then looking at having that keen appreciation for tech and blockchain, and you see the world in a much richer color. I'm very interested to find out what's the philosophy behind that. What drives you to do this? I'm sure when you sat down to run Abele Group, it's not just, okay, there is a problem, here's a solution. It sounds like you're looking at it not as a problem solution, but more of this is what the world needs. This is what I think I can provide here. It sounds too big even for one man to try to create. It sounds like a mammoth project, really. Is there a vision for this?
Absolutely. The vision, first and foremost, started with the realization that most people will never learn the intricate details of a smart contract. Most people will never care to learn the encryption technology behind blockchain. But people do want the benefits. And so, again, I told you that I was a student of history in some respects. And if you think about it, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Michael Dell, they saw that IBM mainframe computers were allowing human beings to interact with data, learn more, do more faster. And that we should all have one personally. But are we all going to learn how to code to the point where we can build our own computers? No. So if I can provide you with a service or software or a tool that allows you to live your life as you see fit wherever you are in the world in a more efficient manner, then I have helped further mankind. I have helped make your life easier. So that's what we want to do with the Abele Group. We want to make people's lives easier. Now, that's the overriding philosophy. But in terms of why I entered this space, it was really calling. I saw that there was more I could do to with my life than just looking at numbers on a screen. That's interacting with people.
Yeah.
If I want to interact with you here, sure, we can have this conversation. But if I never meet you and I want to interact with you, then I need to find a way that touches your life or makes your life better. And so as generations of very smart people who happen to be born in very poor circumstances start interacting in this global economy, if we truly want to hear from them, if we truly want to empower them, then there must be a way to interact with them. And it moves beyond just media. It has to include our commerce. And so that was a very specific thing that I saw, that I could take my time and talent and resources to help build an organization that does that. Now, you're right, this is very big ideas. Will we do it alone? Absolutely not, which is why I think the word ecosystem is limiting. We're not just building an ecosystem, we're building a community and an industry.
Yeah.
We do that in very specific ways though. First, we start with cryptocurrencies as our proving ground, and we help people who have lost assets because they were BYOB, being their own bank, lose assets. We help them interact safely with access to the best liquidity. So that's taking a very big idea and moving it down to the tactical level for something specific. Second, most people will tell you in the crypto space that security tokens and licensing. Well, wait a second, we've come full circle in less than a year.
Yeah.
We went from being, we don't care about governments to, well, what I want to guarantee, I want a backing on my assets. Okay, fair, fine. So what is the Abele Group doing to respond to that? Yeah. We're applying for licensing to become a broker-dealer or a qualified custodian in certain jurisdictions. So people know that we're not a bunch of fraudsters saying, oh, deposit all of your money into our honeypot and then we'll go buy Lamborghinis. No thanks, I'm not interested in that. Subarus are great for me. Third, what are we doing? When you talk about partnering with what I call pioneers in this space, I view us as on the frontier, but there's some true pioneers in this space. Other blockchain projects who have specific uses in either payments or data analytics and artificial intelligence. We don't plan on building every product and service ourselves. Honestly, anyone who tells you that they can build everything all by themselves, run, avoid them. We are vetting people. I spend a lot of time just learning other projects. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? So I know exactly where to partner with them. And in fact, next week is the Singapore FinTech Festival. Yeah. A lot of people are coming to town. I look forward to making a few announcements.
I got so much more questions for you, but I think I really got to squeeze in one last one because you mentioned STO. Right? Sure. And how you went full circle from, no, none of that security thing, power to the people, and now no, give me some STOs, right? Again, people either love it, they hate it, they don't know enough about it. Your views on the STO. Is this something that really goes against the progress? Is this something that really we need? Or could this be just a bunch of elites sitting down and trying to put their old rules into or shoehorn into crypto and say STO is the thing now?
Okay, well, here's the thing. From a society standpoint, society is willing to try new ideas, willing to try new things, but unfortunately, there were a couple projects, some are quite famous, who raised hundreds of millions of dollars. And 2 years on, a year on, they've not produced any product. They've not produced an MVP. They still have a white paper. And the founders are living quite well, driving fancy cars at the finest restaurants every night. That is morally wrong. But because they didn't make any guarantees and effectively they were asking for a donation, in most jurisdictions is not technically illegal.
Yeah.
I don't know how they sleep at night. I don't know what their moral compass is, but it's morally wrong.
Yeah.
And so the community, the retail community, has completely left the ICO space because there have just been too many scams throughout the West and here in the East. How you prevent a scam is by forcing projects to undergo audits, forcing projects to have legal opinions, and in some cases, forcing projects into some type of a regulatory regime. Now, if you issue equity around the world, in most countries there's a process for that. If you issue debt, there's a process. There wasn't really a process though for a token donation. No. In the US, they have the crowd sale regulations. Earlier this year, we applied for a Regulation A exemption from the SEC to conduct a token offering in the US. Now, that doesn't apply internationally. So internationally, we're using a different process. But what we decided was that we would still offer people internationally the same access to our books and records. So we would still undergo audits and we would still give them timely information as what we do in the US when that process, whenever it concludes. Today, I don't think you've actually seen an STO in the market.
No.
Telegram and Trezor will claim that they're STOs, but in my mind, they're not because they raise money from accredited investors using Regulation D of SEC rules and regulations. Regulation D means that you can raise money from any wealthy individual who meets the accredited investor standpoint or any institution without undergoing a qualification process with the SEC.
Okay.
In my mind, you're only a security token if you've undergone a review process with either the SEC or a regulatory body around the world. And to date, there hasn't been one project approved. I know because I'm waiting for my approval. It is a painful process. STOs will be part of the future. There will still be platforms that are gaming platforms where you don't have economic rights in the business, but you have reward type credits or membership credits. Those are utility tokens. They will still exist. I see the future as a combination of both. which is there is no one path. And if blockchain teaches you anything in the study of blockchain application, it is that there are multiple paths to achieve the same goal, multiple ends to achieve that goal. But we as society can determine that. Now, if you choose to issue something that looks like, smells like, and feels like a security, it will undergo the STO process. If you issue something that looks like, smells like, and feel like it is only used for utility on your platform and it is not a means of exchange, it's a utility.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. I think this has been very insightful meeting with you.
Thank you.
And I wish Abele Group all the best and your future endeavors.
Thank you. You can find any announcements about us at www.abelegroup.io.
And now I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Any message you want to talk to the community? 30 seconds, it's all yours.
To the community, I say, first and foremost, thank you. Many of you are pioneers in this space and have been the brightest shining stars and examples of how we take an emerging technology and apply it from a mass level or at a mass level for the greatest social benefit and good. We have a responsibility at Abele Group to follow the path you've blazed as true trailblazers. And all we're doing is taking the best and brightest ideas that are there right now, combining it with our industry know-how to produce a service such that millions and billions of people around the world can interact with blockchain technology and not necessarily know it. All they will know is that their lives from a commerce perspective have been made more efficient, that it's better, it's more secure. Whether it's payments or depositing or even just that interaction between a grandparent and a grandchild that happens financially, we want to be a part of it. We want to provide a safe place to store your medical records, your music royalties for you musicians, your financial health, so that you can interact in this new token economy, this new digital economy in a way that's organized by you, for you. Having said all of that, we are an emerging platform, an emerging technology. Anyone who purchases our Abele token, you are helping us build that token, and so in the future you will always receive discounts on our services, on the ones where we charge. For the services that are free, you will always receive them first. Anything that we introduce to the platform as a token holder, you will receive it first. We will still have people on our platform who aren't necessarily token holders, and so their fee experience will be considerably more than yours. If in the future we ever need to issue more tokens, you will have the maximum benefit from it, in that between 50 to 70% of those future token sales we will return to our existing token holders. I firmly believe that if you help us build, if you help us extend what we've already built, then you are owners with us in that process. Now, I can't call you equity holders in some jurisdictions because that is a legal process that we must undergo, and we're doing that now. So I simply say thank you to the blockchain community and the cryptocurrency community for the ideas that you've unleashed in finance and in commerce, and how you've wakened us up to the possibility of including the banked and what we call now the unbanked in one giant organization. But at the end of the day, that organization doesn't exist solely for my gain or my benefit. It exists for the benefit of all those whom we call token holders, all those whom we call account holders. Thank you so much.
This is Phil A. Woods from Abele Group. More information in the link below. My name is Eugene. You're watching Rock the Block Live. I'll see you guys in the next video.